All right. Hi, guys. Today I am sitting down with my beautiful sister, Samara, because you are celebrating 10 months being alcohol free, sober. And you originally shared this on your Instagram about sort of like 6 months in to like celebrate that incredible milestone. And you had so many people replying, being like, that's amazing. Like, I would love to start that journey myself, like asking loads of questions. And I shared it on my socials as well to be like, oh, I think it'd be really interesting for us to have a conversation about it. And if anyone had any questions. And people had so many questions. So that was good validation that it was probably nice for us to sit down and just talk about your journey, like ask for me to ask some of those questions that people definitely have. I know that I have myself around what that's like. So here we are. Welcome.
Thank you.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Samara. I'm Rebecca's older sister. My background is that I'm a lawyer. I've been working in the kind of non-profit charity space for a number of years now. I have set up my own legal organisation, which is Sistrian Legal Collective, and I also work in the humanitarian space as well.
Nice. All right, let's dive in. So, as I said, you're about 10 months
Yeah,
in
10
now.
months.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's look back at, I guess, like the beginning of that journey, like what it looked like for you entering that space. Like, what does it actually mean to be like sober or alcohol free? I'm sort of, learning from the beginning.
So I've been thinking about going alcohol free for quite a while now. I've kind of toyed with it a couple of times. I've taken breaks, like a month here and there, over the last few years, just to kind of see how I feel, see if there's any improvements to my life. I also really had it like in the back of my head, I think from a young age, that at some point in my life, maybe in my like mid 30s, 40s, I don't really know when exactly, but I was probably going to stop drinking. I think I read an article like in a magazine about kind of all the benefits, and I remember thinking like that's definitely something I need to like consider as I start to get a bit older. So yeah, I thought about it for a while, and then in October last year, as most people do, you might have like a series of events, a series of nights out, or one big event, which you're kind of like, okay, I really think this might be the end of me drinking. Um, I have always kind of struggled a little bit with alcohol. Like I don't think my body processes it particularly well, although I don't know if anyone processes alcohol that well. Some people are better at processing it than others. I quite often would feel like I'd have quite bad stomach pains. I'd feel sick, or I was sick after maybe like not that many drinks. So it was always a bit of a difficult relationship with it, in the sense that it didn't always sit particularly well with me generally. Um, and then I went on holiday with some girlfriends. I remember we went out for this like really, really nice meal, really expensive meal. Had a few glasses of wine and maybe like two cocktails, and I was sick. And like that for me, I was like, oh, I feel really annoyed that I've just like what was a really, really nice night with my friends and ended up me being like quite violently ill after like not that much alcohol, realistically. So then I started to really think, okay, like, is this actually aligned with like myself and my goals, what I want for myself? Do I want to feel like this on my holiday? Do I want to, spend the next 2 days like kind of like battling with sickness? So um, that was kind of when I started to really think about it. And I think as well at that time I was feeling like quite anxious about a number of different things. And I think I started to really correlate like a worsening anxiety spiral with drinking specifically, and kind of having situations where like especially on the weekend or like Sundays, like if I'd been out with my friends, like feeling like considerably worse for the days after, if I'd been out drinking, than maybe like the middle of the week where I wouldn't drink. So I started to think about like, okay, am I really living my life in a way that I want to live it? And are the benefits of drinking really outweighing the downsides that I was experiencing? So that was kind of the turning point for me, was that trip. But like I said, it kind of been built. Like I think for a lot of people, it builds over a number of years. It's not something you suddenly like wake up one day and you're like, I'm going to be sober today. Like it's something you've thought about for a while. You've had a number of experiences, and then there kind of comes a point where you're like, I think I'm done.
So you found that, had you before this point that you had stopped drinking, decided in the past that you were going to stop drinking and then like restarted again at another point?
I think I hadn't ever decided to stop fully. I decided to like take a break and like have a few weeks or maybe like a month where I didn't drink, or 6 weeks, I think was the longest I'd been before. But I never like had it in my mind that I was going to stop until last year.
why do you think that final decision came compared to just taking a break as you had done before?
I think it was about like reflecting and being, like I said, thinking about what do I want my life to look and feel like? And is me drinking helping to align with that? And I think for me, I started to really see like there were way more downside. There was more obvious downsides to drinking at this point in my life than there were any kind of the upsides, which obviously like the socializing, the enjoyment, the fun. But for me, the downsides, like the kind of negative kind of anxiety kind of spiral it would send me into, and the physical symptoms were starting to completely outweigh the joy I was getting from drinking.
So I guess when you really kind of like looked at it, you're like, actually, I'm just doing this more out of habit and because everyone else is and because I've always done it.
Yeah,
Rather than
exactly.
I really love it. And
yeah, exactly. And you know, you just get those moments where you're like, I never want to feel like this again. And I was like, okay, if I never want to feel like this again, like what am I going to do to stop that?
I guess with alcohol as well, like there's a kind of a before, during, and after. And maybe you love one of those moments, like that process of like, okay, you're going to meet all your friends, you're getting ready for the night.
Yeah.
And then maybe the during is great. Not for everyone. Sometimes the during actually isn't great.
Yeah.
And then I feel like for most people, the after is always negative, but that could probably be a big spectrum
Yeah.
of how negative.
How bad it is, yeah.
So, okay, so you've stopped drinking now. What has that process been like? Has it been really challenging? Like, what's one of the hardest things that you find about it?
The challenge kind of comes in waves. I found some of the kind of bigger occasions, like when I gave up drinking, it was October. So I had like Christmas, I had New Year's, all kind of coming up really soon after. I definitely found New Year's challenging. But it was also really interesting to reflect afterwards on why I found it hard and what was going on at New Year's for me that made me feel like I wanted to drink or that I was kind of missing out. And I think a lot of the things I started to reflect on was like, actually, what drives you to drink for me actually was a lot of it was feeling maybe overwhelmed, and when I felt overwhelmed at New Year's, I was like in a very obviously a highly stimulated environment. Other people were drinking, they were being loud, there was music, there was fireworks. I really wanted to drink at that moment because it was going to help reduce a lot of the like kind of stresses I had around me and make me feel more comfortable in that situation. So that was like I remember that being a key moment where I felt like I wanted to have a drink. So there's been moments like this. There's been definitely the moments where I am on holiday having a nice glass of wine, or like a cocktail on holiday would have been like a really nice, like that's a nice thing to do on holiday, right? You feel good when you just having a couple of drinks. So definitely had those moments. And then you have the just kind of more like, oh, it's Friday evening. I've had a stressful week at work. I used to like really enjoy like going for a glass of wine with my friends on a Friday but again, what I realized was like what the alcohol was doing was making me relax. It was giving me like a feeling. And that was what I was missing, rather than like the alcohol itself.
I think you just touched on like so many important points. The first one you touched on was what is it that you're experiencing that makes you want to drink?
Yeah.
Because it's not the alcohol itself. It's like, okay, maybe there's a particular feeling or a particular person or a particular environment that draws you to drinking. And obviously for you, it's like to kind of reduce this sense of overwhelm. And I feel like everyone will have their own personal feeling. And then the second point you made was that feeling of like relaxation, which we so often just associate with alcohol. Because you're like, okay, well, I can't drink while I'm at work for most people.
Yeah.
So there's a sense of like, I'm really switching off from everything and I'm drinking, and therefore I associate the two together.
Yeah.
But it's not actually alcohol itself. It's maybe the association and like the situation. I'm now in holiday mode.
Yeah, I think alcohol maybe does dilate you. You're the doctor, you'll know. Yeah. I think it does give you a relaxing feeling. There's something chemically going on there.
There definitely is. Yeah. The science has shown.
Yeah.
Which obviously enhances that feeling.
Yeah,
exactly. But there is also that association of like, I'm on holiday, I've got a cocktail in my hand, and that is my whole picture of like, I'm having a great time.
Yeah, the association is like a huge part of it. Or like, I'm having a meal. Like I always really like to have like a glass of wine with dinner. So yeah.
So these challenges that you faced sort of across that journey, what do you do in those moments? What stops you from them
from drinking? I think it happened to me on the weekend as well, actually. I was out with some friends. We were at a party and I had that same like urge to drink. Like they were all drinking. They were having, I mean, we were all having fun, but I was like, oh, I want to participate in that feeling. What I've realized over the last 10 months is that that feeling comes and it goes. It takes around 10 minutes and then it passes. And whatever urge I've got, I think I just realize I have to ride it out. I'm not always cognizant of it in the moment, but if I can just kind of hold it, then I think, oh, okay, it's passed now. So yeah, it is an urge more than like a need. So I can kind of move through that. And then I guess I just think about what is the end goal? Like how much does this align with, like you said, like what I want my life to look and feel like tomorrow? Like, do I have something I want to do tomorrow, which if I drink now, I know is not going to happen. I think that was so much of, again, why I stopped was like, there were so many things that didn't happen. Like, the run that you wanted to go on a Sunday morning doesn't happen. Or like the friend that you wanted to see, you feel a bit shit going to see them, or you just feel really lethargic, or you get to Monday morning, you're just like, oh, I had that really big thing at work I need to do, and now I don't feel like 100% myself. So yeah, thinking about like, does the benefit of having this drink outweigh the kind of problems it's going to cause me tomorrow, tonight even.
I guess that's a really good segue into how has not drinking changed your health and sort of your ability to do the things you want to do and how you feel generally day to day.
I think it's helped in a lot of ways. I feel much more consistent. Like I'm really able to do and achieve all the things I want to achieve. And I think I know really randomly, I don't know if it kind of came along the same time, but I started to kind of manifest at this time as well and think about what I want my life to look and feel like. I definitely feel like since I've stopped drinking, a lot of the things I've wanted for my life have actually happened. And I think that's because I'm able to be way more consistent. Like every day I can show up in the way that I want to show up for myself, even if obviously I can rest and I can relax, if I ever do that. And
that's another conversation.
Yeah. But it means I can be really consistent. So I think I've achieved a lot more in the last 10 months than maybe would have otherwise if I'd still been drinking. In terms of how I feel, I definitely have had my anxiety has reduced heavily. If I think back, I think even yesterday I was reflecting on like, how did I feel this time last year? And I was so much more anxious. Obviously, there are other things that are going on in your life, but I generally feel much less anxious than I did. And I think the key thing that changed is that it's not that stressful things don't happen to me, like they do. I do get emotional, I do get overwhelmed, like these things happen, but my ability to deal with that stress is way higher now that I don't drink. And I think that was a key thing that alcohol really, the negative kind of aspect of alcohol was that it really stopped me from being able to get a good grasp of the stressful thing that was happening for me, to like have a good perspective, because you'd be in this like anxiety spiral. So now I feel like if something stressful happens, I can handle it better than I could if I had like been drinking at all.
Do you feel like part of that was because alcohol was used as a tool for handling it, or you just now have more clarity around a situation because you're not maybe in a cycle of like, I don't think you didn't drink like every day, for example, but maybe every weekend or
I definitely drank every weekend.
I guess that's kind of actually a good thing to talk about. It's like, how much were you drinking?
How much were I drinking? I would probably drink on a Friday and a Saturday, so probably 2 days a week. So like not very much, like maybe 3 at a push. Like if I like had something on like a Thursday, but like realistically it would be like a Friday and a Saturday. And again, I didn't drink loads because I can't really drink that much. So like probably having like 3-4 drinks maximum on like an average, if I was going to be drinking on an average thing, or like if I was just going out for dinner, maybe like 2 glasses of wine. So again, not like I would say like an average amount of alcohol, even maybe in some cases, I don't know if that would be less than average, but
it's a big spectrum.
Yeah, there's a huge spectrum, but that was how much I was drinking.
I can say it's less than the kind of like national guidelines.
Yeah, less than national guidelines. So yeah, definitely. What was the question before?
Do you feel like, because you said you have less anxiety or sort of
Yeah.
you're able to handle stressful
Oh,
situations
yeah.
better? Is that because alcohol used to be a tool, like an
Tool.
unhealthy tool for handling it? Or is it because you just generally have more like thought clarity around
Yeah.
situations?
I have much more thought clarity. I think like everyone, like if something stressful happens at work, like I said, having a drink helps to relax you. Or like you might go and like if something stressful happens, you go meet your friend and have a drink. So it's maybe not like a conscious like association with like dealing with a stressful thing, but often that's where we like kind of negotiate, like, navigate our problems is like over a glass of wine, right? So, but I think now that I don't drink, I said, I just have much more tools to be able to manage things. I think like fundamentally alcohol is a depressant. Like it makes you sad and in my case unwell as well. So if you're feeling a bit sick and you're feeling a bit sad, like dealing with something stressful is like way harder. It feels much more overwhelming. So now I feel like I've taken that out. I can kind of like see things at face value and navigate them better.
I feel like alcohol can be that short-term relief
Yes.
from feeling what you're feeling
Yeah.
and having to deal with what's happening in your life. But fundamentally, it has this like longer-term negative effect on your emotions, your body, and all of these things.
Yeah.
And as you said, like, you know, if you're someone who is the negative effects are really starting to grow and amplify, it's so important to kind of sit back and look at it and be like, is this worth it? Is the short-term relief potentially that you're getting with alcohol worth the kind of spiral that potentially happens afterwards?
Exactly.
You mentioned that, you know, about sitting down for a glass, like over a glass of wine to, like, you know, sometimes discuss life with friends. How do you feel like being alcohol-free now has changed your relationships, if at all?
I don't think it's really changed them. Maybe we do slightly different things together with my friends. So I'm a bit more like, whereas before I definitely went to the pub quite a lot. I went out for dinners quite a lot. Maybe don't do that quite as much, like more like coffees, walks. There's maybe some friends that I don't see as much, or maybe we don't do the same things together anymore. So like really gotten into the sauna recently. I feel like I'm doing things like that way more with my friends. Like we still go out for dinner and still go out for drinks. I just don't drink. So
do you sort of initiate this? Oh, can we go for a coffee instead, or is it just sort of a natural thing?
Yeah, it's very natural. I don't really have an issue with being in like a bar. Like it's absolutely fine. Like London's obviously really lucky. There's loads of places which have like good non-alcoholic options. So it's like a non-issue. But I think the thing I can't do now is like stay out really late in a bar, whereas maybe I would have been able to, but you get tired. You definitely get tired more quickly. That is one of the downsides. But
can you handle drunk people still?
That is a good question. I think it's more challenging to handle drunk people when you are sober. Like their movements are very chaotic. So yeah, definitely there's certain situations and certain places. And I think one thing I've realized is that when you're drinking, things can feel fun when they're not actually that fun. I have really got a very good sense now of what is actually fun to me. And if it's fun, I will stay there all night. Like I'm more than happy to. I have no issue. I will enjoy myself. If it's not fun, I want to leave immediately. So your tolerance and ability to like stay out late in kind of like average interactions is not really there.
Yeah, I guess it's good to reference that Samara loves a party, can be out until 6 a.m.
Yeah.
So, you know, in case you're just like, oh, this doesn't apply to me because I want to be like out.
Yeah.
No, it so happens, but as you said, you actually you can't just do it for anything. You're not kind of like going to waste your
time, your energy on like, something that isn't really that enjoyable. And I think that was a good thing I found out about not drinking is that you really work out what it is that you enjoy in life, like what really makes you feel good. Because when it's fun, it's just fun. Like you literally don't need any alcohol at all to have a good time. Like it is. There's some things I've been to, like I don't know if anyone's been to Steam Down, but like went to Steam Down and I was like, this is literally the funnest thing I've been to. So and there was not a drop of alcohol in sight for me. So
and for reference, I do drink. So when I say drunk people, I'm also part of that crew.
Yeah.
Not to other anyone in this situation.
Yeah.
Have you ever had any sort of like negative reactions from people about you not drinking?
Not really. I have people maybe like indifferent, or they're like, oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah, I honestly think we're definitely in a different time. Like, I think previously it was definitely, people did find it really hard, and I think if you're someone who you're like, you're known as like the fun person, the fun drinking person in the crew. I think like having to like disassociate yourself from that identity for your friends is actually really, really challenging. But no, not really any negative feedback.
Amazing. And so you say that you do go out to bars and stuff still, and you tend to just get like a non-alcoholic drink.
Yeah.
Anything that is like your go-to that you'd recommend to people? Because I feel like most people, they assume they have to have like
a Coke
Coca-Cola
or something
like lemonade
like that.
and like
Yeah, I try not to drink like Coke and lemonade. I've never really been a massive fan, but I do like a soda water and lime is like a really nice refreshing drink. So always would go to that. There's actually some really good non-alcoholic like cider and beer options. I never drank beer, so I wouldn't even like the taste, but I used to really like cider, really good non-alcoholic cider options. And also the drink that I've kind of gotten most into recently is a Club Mate. It's like a tea based drink. I think it's from like South America, but they have them. I both first discovered it in like Berlin and Switzerland. But yeah, that's a really nice non-alcoholic option, and it's also really high caffeine content. But it's not. I don't like energy drinks, so it's not an energy drink in that kind of realm of like Red Bulls and stuff. It's not that. But they've got a high caffeine content, so if you need to stay awake, it's a really good option. But you don't get them very often, mainly like European countries.
Oh, good tip. What is something that has surprised you about being alcohol free? If anything.
What has surprised me? I think nothing really beats that feeling on a Sunday morning when you wake up and you're like, I feel great. And it surprised me how that has not gone old. Like every Sunday I'm like, God, I just feel so good. So and I can do whatever I want.
You could just get up, do the day.
All
the things.
Yeah, it never ceases to make me feel amazing.
I love that. So do you see yourself continuing this long term, like forever? Do you ever see yourself drinking again?
It's really hard to know. Like at the moment, I just say I don't have any plans to drink for like the foreseeable future, or like the near future anyway. I can never say never. Like lots of people, they maybe do like a year and then they just kind of drink occasionally. That might be a good place to get to. I don't know. But also, like I said, I'm like, what is the actual benefit of me drinking? And yeah, will I even like the taste anymore? I don't know. Probably not. So yeah, not for now, but yeah, it's difficult because I think we mentioned earlier, like a lot of people feel like there's a certain amount of like shame. Like if you stop drinking and then you go back to drinking, like people can find it's quite a hard thing to navigate. But almost harder is the like back and forth in your head around like, should I drink? Shouldn't I drink? Maybe I'll just have one, maybe I'll have two, who knows? Like that's exhausting. So like if you can just be like, I'm not gonna drink, then it's kind of end of conversation.
I guess when you're deciding, because I had a friend recently who didn't drink for years and years and years, and then got to the point where she was like, actually, I think I want to start drinking again, and had to kind of have those conversations like with herself, but also with other people. And I guess if you come back to that evaluation of the benefits of it, not doing it compared to doing it, and then you can kind of make that decision for yourself based on like that point in your life. And your health and all of these things.
Exactly.
It's not kind of not cornering yourself into a box of one way is the only way.
Yeah, exactly.
So what would you say to someone who is thinking about being alcohol-free or cutting back, or any advice that you'd have?
I think just think about like, okay, so where do I think maybe alcohol was holding me back in my life? What changes do I want to see in my life, and how do I think alcohol, not drinking, can support that change? I think if you have a strong why, I think that's people, if you are kind of like, oh, I'm not too, I kind of want to stop drinking, but you don't have the like why is it that I wanted to stop, how is this going to improve my life, I think it's quite challenging. So have a strong why, like really reinforce that with yourself, and then when you have those moments of being like, or maybe it's fine, I can just have one, it's fine, like you have something to go back to like remember like what the reason is for this decision.
Amazing. Well, that's all of the questions that I
Great.
have. Thank you so much
That's
for
right.
sharing everything about your journey and sort of giving really like amazing insights and advice. I'm sure anyone that's thinking about going alcohol free probably has like a little bit more context now around what that might be like, the challenges they might face. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed.
Thank you. Thanks so much for interviewing me. Thank you so much.